that result is announced, we will not be intimidated. We will defend our votes. We will protect this mandate. And those that have the idea of a June 12th annulment by creating crisis because they didn't win, they should perish the thought. It will not happen under this watch.
Africa.
It's like Shakespeare, a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying absolutely nothing. And we need to be very careful at this stage. We are confident of victory. We know that we're going to win this election because we've done our research, but we don't make noise. We want everybody to be cool, everybody to be calm as we coast to that victory. But what they are doing is trying to heat up the polity, provoke us, intimidate our voters and our supporters, threaten us morning, day, and night, and ensure that we react to them. We won't do that. But one thing I will say, just to add to what everybody else has said, and if you don't remember anything that I've said today, please remember this. The minute those results are announced, and we, by the grace of God, are declared as the winner, we will defend our votes. No matter what Pastor Paul Eneche, Dino Melai, and all the rest of them say, DELE Momodu, all the rest of them, no matter what they say or do, particularly the obedience, who have intimidated and threatened our voters, beaten our voters in some parts, particularly in the East, beaten our voters and our supporters. I have all the evidence here on my phone. Threatened them, particularly the women. There's nothing they haven't been subjected to. The minute that result is announced, we will not be intimidated. We will defend our votes. We will protect this mandate. And those that have the idea of a June 12th annulment by creating crisis because they didn't win, they should perish the thought. It will not happen under this watch, by God's grace. Thank you.
Upbeat, as the numbers do not lie. We call on the opposition to stop the macabre dance of a dying horse and embrace defeat honorably. There can still be honor in defeat. We once again call for maturity and restraint. Nigerians have spoken through the ballots, and the umpire must be allowed to do its work without harassment or blackmail. Security agents should stay on alert and deal with individuals and groups who are planning to foment trouble. Election is not war. This is democracy at play. And everybody in this country knows that our own candidate, our presidential candidate, is a committed Democrat who has a track record and antecedents in deepening democracy, fighting for democracy, nurturing democracy, and therefore is the only avatar of democracy in this game. We once again thank Nigerians for subscribing to our message of renewed hope and ask our supporters to remain calm and hopeful as we will ensure that their votes are not manipulated by any ethnic power-mongering person, subversive elements, or serial losers. Thank you, gentlemen.
Africa.
Issues have been raised regarding the legal provision of uploading results, because that is the core of their complaint. So I don't think we would like to address that. We will not be here and and skip that.
Yeah,
we won't skip that. That is the crux of all the complaint going on. That results must be uploaded before they are announced at the collation center. So we don't want to run away from that issue. And I think it is incumbent on us to address that issue. Now, let me attempt to do this. I don't know, is it okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Your voice is loud enough.
Is it okay?
Your voice is loud enough.
Now, the conduct of elections, the counting of votes, and the declaration of results are regulated by three or four documents. One, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Two, the Electoral Act, which subsequently gives powers to INEC to make regulations for the conduct of those elections. And so you now have also the INEC regulations and guidelines. In that order, first, it is the Constitution that is supreme. In its supremacy, what the Constitution merely does in Schedule 3 is to establish INEC and gives INEC the general powers to conduct elections into all offices, at the federal level in Nigeria and the FCT. That is for the Constitution. Now, the Electoral Act, if you see, the Constitution now says that the ways by which INEC should conduct those elections should be regulated by an act of the National Assembly. That is what the Constitution says in Chapter 3, in Schedule 3. Now, that is what gave the National Assembly the powers to then make the Electoral Act. What does the Electoral Act say? Because I'm coming to this issue of IREV and uploading results. The Electoral Act, if you look at Section 60 of the Electoral Act, Section 60 clearly prescribes the mode by which results are entered step by step until the announcement of the results. In fact, the provisions begin from Section 45 all through to Section 68. Go and look at those provisions. It talks about manual entry of those results in different forms, from the unit level, to the ward level, to the local government level, to the state level, and then to the National Collation Center. That is the provision of the Electoral Act. Take note, in all of these provisions I've mentioned, there has been no provision regarding uploading results to an INEC, to an IREV, or somewhere you view the results publicly. It is pursuant to Section 70 now, where INEC now said, that says that, INEC can still make guidelines, because the Electoral gives INEC powers to make guidelines for the conduct of those elections. It is that in those guidelines that you will now see that INEC makes provision for the declaration of results. Now, before that even, let me draw your attention to Section 68 of the Electoral Act. Section 68 says that when results have been declared, those results will be posted on a site, a public place for everybody to see, and on INEC's website. That is what the law itself says, the Electoral Act. It is after the declaration of results. So, those provisions you then see in the guidelines about uploading results to an IREV and all that, they are not strictly in tandem with the provisions of our law. The Constitution, the Electoral Act, they are arrangements made for INEC for ease of the process. And if you look at all the Supreme Court decisions, there is no Supreme Court decision that has said that the guidelines of INEC override the provisions of both the Electoral Act and the Constitution. In fact, all the provisions, all the decisions by the Supreme Court, all the decisions, it was on the basis of that, if you remember, that the other thing they used for accreditation, what's it called? No, not the other one, the one before now. Card reader was declared null and void by the Supreme Court. That the Electoral Act, that the register is still supreme, if you remember. That is on the Supreme Court, because those provisions, first of all, appeared in guidelines of INEC. But then when people insisted, there are many cases in 2015 and 2019, where litigants who lost insisted that the provisions of the guidelines were not followed. What did the Supreme Court say? Supreme Court said, look, the guidelines were just for the ease of the process of INEC, that the major provision of the law is as prescribed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the Electoral Act. So, gentlemen, what you are seeing going on in PDP is drama without substance. It is drama without substance in law.
Matched in Lagos, the results that came out today, the Labour Party had a very slight lead, but a lead all the same, And honestly, we have always said this, and I did say it a few moments ago, that our candidate is the avatar of democracy in this season, in this country today. He has fought strenuously to enthrone this democracy. He has acted in government to deepen this democracy. And he has demonstrated his commitment, unalloyed, unavowed, to democracy. So he's taking it in his stride. We are all taking it in our stride as committed Democrats.
Absolutely.
Because we do not want anything to derail this democracy, hard fought for and hard won. Now, those who are bellyaching all around, issuing threats that if they do not win, there will be fire and brimstone and all that, I ask you, how many of them were in the barricades fighting for this democracy? They were not there.
Yeah.
So they do not appreciate democracy. They do not understand the dynamics and nuances and the convention of democracy. So they have no stake in this democracy. That's why they can say there will be fire and brimstone. In fact, some obedience have been calling for the return of the military if they are not declared the winner of this election. And that is very, very sad.
Be arrested.
That will show you that these are not Democrats. And I repeat, because they never took part in the democratic struggle, they never acted in deepening and sustaining this democracy, it is easy for them to want to scuttle it. But those of us who were part and parcel of the democratic struggle, we knew what we went through.
Absolutely.
Our principal went through the crucibles, harassment, oppression, suppression, and the whole works to get this democracy in place. So we are prepared to nurture it. And the result in Lagos is also an eloquent testimony to the fairness of this process.
Absolutely.
If anything, any lesson is to be drawn from the Lagos results today, it is that when Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is eventually declared by the umpire INEC as the legitimately elected president of this country, nobody should complain about the process, because the process has been demonstrably fair and just, as exemplified by the results in Lagos, which we are not even contesting now. We are taking it in our stride as Democrats, but it is a testimony to the freeness and fairness of this process. So let nobody come and complain when we are declared the winner that, oh, they've been rigged out. If we did not rig them out in Lagos, we are not about to rig them out anywhere else.
Indeed.
So our victory is established and verified by what has happened in Lagos today. Thank you.